Let's jump into this first story from Timcast.com. Casey DeSantis teases Governor DeSantis presidential campaign, big if true. Here's the video. They say they call it faith because in the face of darkness, you can see the brighter future. Let's just play the video so y'all can see it for yourselves. You ready for this? Here we go. Is the audio right? Make sure we got the audio right.
They call it faith because in the face of darkness, you can see that brighter future. A faith that our best days lay ahead of us. But is it worth the fight? Do I have the courage? Is it worth the sacrifice? America has been worth it every single time.
Text launch to 512345. Wait, 512345. That's the video. And I feel like this is taking a bit of the wind out of their sails. Casey DeSantis also tweeted out, big if true, in reference to this story from Fox News, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to announce candidacy for president Wednesday on Twitter, sources. So we all knew it was coming. And tomorrow, Ron DeSantis is supposed, or for those that are listening to us later today, Ron DeSantis is going to be doing an interview with Elon Musk on Twitter, and he's going to announce he is running for the presidency. So we know he is now. I think putting out this story and putting out that tweet pulled a lot of the wind out of their sails. I can understand leaking a little bit, like expectation may happen, tune in, don't miss the show. But tweeting out that video basically just announced it. And I feel like Elon Musk is going to have the interview. And then what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a good amount of people, maybe 30% of people who have normally watched the Twitter space are going to be like, oh, I know already. They put that video out. It's a text launch. We get it. So I don't know. What do you guys think? A lot of people are ragging on him already. A lot of the Trump people genuinely are upset about this. I'm going to say it outright. I think the people who are upset at Ron DeSantis are scared of him.
I do think that this is kind of an example that he needs a better marketing team. No offense, guys, if you're listening right now, but
I agree.
You just stomped on your own fire. You should have let Elon make the noise for you so that everyone went back and watched that Elon interview over and over again. And this is like coming off the heels. A couple of weeks ago, I think you, Tim, on Twitter, you had some issues with his marketing team also. Where was that?
Yeah, they got mad because I tweeted about Jazz Jennings, and I was like, why are they so mad?
Yeah,
but
and it was just...
No, I think people will still go back to the Elon Musk interview. It's still going to be a big deal. I just think this pulled a little bit of the wind out of the sails.
And us talking about it's pulling more wind out of it.
Yep.
So.
So I'll tell you right now. We originally, the original title of this was going to be Target Emergency Meeting. They're pulling back this big boycott. Bud Light, we're winning. And then I'm looking at the news and it's like, they basically announced.
Also,
okay, well, there it is. That's the story.
The announcement video was shot from underneath him to make him look large. Obviously, that's a bit manipulative. They should have used some slow motion with a few cuts to give some action because it was a very slow, boring video. That's just more of an artistic critique.
Look, I think this is the biggest non-surprise ever. I do think a lot of people are going to watch Elon Musk's announcement tomorrow night. And look, the race is ultimately going to be Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis. I think it can be healthy. We just got to stay focused on beating Democrats. A lot of folks back home pretty confident Donald Trump's going to win the primary. And they want to see the competition, at some level. But they also want everybody to stay focused on beating Democrats instead of beating each other up.
Yeah, the other aspect of it is I'm very glad Ron's running. So as critical as I'm going to be about the way that they're announcing it, I like more competition. I think we need that. We need more Democrats, RFK and Biden. We need to see those guys debating. We need to see Trump and DeSantis debating. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I love what DeSantis is doing in Florida. Part of what concerns me is just how damaging it can be to any politician's reputation to go up against Trump and how good he is at just ripping these people to shreds. It's one of his very strong talents. Yeah. And you just wonder if Ron gets in the ring with Trump, is this going to have lasting damage to his political brand?
Yeah, I think that's the fear for anybody. I mean, particularly, getting crossways with Donald Trump, hard to avoid because those are the tactics Donald Trump uses. He goes after the person. He doesn't really go after the argument. And it's worked pretty well for him. I guess the hope for a lot of people is that he can kind of work his message in a different way because that's, I think, the key to appealing to like suburban women, convincing people that he really is going to be able to flip states like Arizona and Wisconsin again and get the win. And, people are saying, oh, well, that's the appeal of DeSantis. We think Trump maybe can't win. Well, the competition will prove it and potentially solidify Trump. And if it doesn't, hey, who knows where we go.
What are your feelings like personally between these guys and just the Republican Party in general, like for president?
I mean, I haven't endorsed anybody in the race so far. Personally, I love both of them. When I first came to Congress, I mean, when you come in a special election, I came in June, so it wasn't like everyone else was coming in. I'm like the new kid. And when you come in, you have to make a speech, and like literally you go down and you address from the floor of the House all of your new colleagues. And okay, it's only on C-SPAN, but it's kind of a big deal. And so big crowd comes in after, take the oath of office and flow through. I make it to the back up where the Freedom Caucus and some of the people that I had gotten to know already were. And this guy comes up to me, he goes, hey, I'm Ron DeSantis. You're from Troy, Ohio, right? And I go, yeah. And I thought it was neat that he knew where I was from. And he goes, my wife Casey's from Troy, Ohio. So she literally graduated from the same high school as my daughter graduated from. Kind of small world stuff, interesting. Her dad was the optometrist in the town square. So I like the DeSantis people. I hope that everything stays friendly. I would be happy if Ron DeSantis was president. I certainly was happy when Donald Trump was president, and I'm confident he would do a great job again.
Yeah, I'd be happy if Ron DeSantis was president. I'd prefer Donald Trump. I think Trump's going to go and get revenge, fire a lot of people. I think Ron DeSantis goes in and shakes a lot of hands. I think policy-wise, Ron is doing a lot of things that help America in a lot of ways. But I wonder if that's what we need right now.
Well, look, one of the things he did as a governor is, he inspired governors to be better than they would have been otherwise in a lot of states.
Exactly.
I wish he would have done a little more inspiring. Look, yeah. Well, Donald Trump inspired a lot of governors to do that, and Ron DeSantis, would not have.
I had it backwards.
Yeah. Ron DeSantis would not have won, and I think he'll be clear on that. He would not have won without the support of Donald Trump. But as governor, he did his own thing and did it really well. And I think it's inspiring. He's a pretty young guy. He's younger than me. I think at some point he's got the potential to be president. But just like you said, Seamus, hopefully if he doesn't get derailed, right?
Yeah, well, and you mentioned that he couldn't have won without Trump's endorsement. That's certainly true. The first time he won, he just barely squeaked past. But we have to acknowledge that his next victory after that was an absolute landslide. He turned Florida from vaguely purple to dark red. He crushed it there. I think he's done a lot of good. I definitely hear everyone's concerns. If this was a question between DeSantis being president and Trump being president, I'm a happy man, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the question of who's most likely to defeat the Democrats in a national election.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people saying that. I've seen the polls. The polls are very favorable for Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. But I've also talked to people out just in the streets, in the cities. And the general conversation is they groan when it comes to Donald Trump, the moderates and the independents, I mean to say. Mm-hmm. And the sentiment seems to be like DeSantis is a normal guy. This is why I think Elon Musk is doing this interview with him, because Elon Musk said something like, I just want a normal person to be president or something like that. So I think Elon does want Ron DeSantis to win. Yeah, whatever that means.
Interesting.
But what I was saying before when I said, I don't know if we need that right now in reference to good policy. Of course, we always need good policy. But I think what we desperately need right now, there we go, I got it, is a purging of the corruption.
Well, exactly. And this is something that it's important to really pay attention to, which is throughout the entire Trump presidency, his rhetoric and his tactics and the way he interacted with the elite was much more criticized by media than were his policies. Just as you mentioned, where Trump will go after people and not necessarily policies, and though I'm sure you'd agree with me, he does go after policy often as well. The media was almost always attacking Trump as an individual. Sometimes they'd go after his appointments. That was pretty popular. Sometimes they'd go after a policy, or they'd say we're upset that he pulled out of the Paris Accord. But often it was the rhetoric in this speech was damaging, or the way he speaks about people in the media makes them feel unsafe, or whatever they were bloviating about. And so that's part of why I think those are the things we should love about Trump, because those are the things that terrify our enemies.
He called Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig.
Which is not a good thing to say,
no,
right?
It's terrible.
But I think overall, and I'm not saying that there are not valid critiques to make of Donald Trump's rhetoric, but what I am saying is there were times where he was so unbelievably on the money in a way that I have never seen another politician be capable of, right? When he said, I'm the president for Pittsburgh and not Paris.
100%.
Nailed it.
100%.
Nailed it.
You look at the drain the swamp rhetoric, to what you're saying, Tim. Look, that was a phrase that, it sums up. If that meant a lot in 2016, if it meant something in 2022, post-Durham report, when you look at this, drain the swamp is going to be the theme. You look at Elon Musk. He bought a crime scene. The question is, what are we going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good way of putting it. He bought a crime scene. He did. All of the evidence is there that they were suppressing information, that they were, I mean, if a foreign government had done what Twitter did, we'd be calling it an act of war.
100%. And kudos to Thomas Massey, who coined they bought a crime scene phrase.
Okay. Yeah, good for him.
The problem with draining the swamp is that I think that the swamp is clogged. I don't think it can be drained without some serious
That's why I'm saying Trump.
plumbing. But he tried last time, and he just
But it's
basically stood there and looked at it.
There's a difference between a first and a second term, and I think Trump underestimated the swamp. And I think he comes into a second term and he just says, "There's nothing.
I've got the snake.
There's nothing holding him back anymore."
No, I think that Schedule F story was real.
Yeah, I think Ron DeSantis gets in and says, "Look, guys, let's shake hands and figure something out together." And then it's just
But Schedule
sludge.
F, you think realistically that, because my fear and thought is that if any president went in and they're like, all right, Schedule F, I'm firing all the heads of all the agencies, the alphabets, all these administrators, you're fired. The CIA would just have them killed like that. And then no one would get fired. That's my thought.
You mean like JFK?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think so. I think they did that back in the day, but I think when you look at Julian Assange, you can see their tactics have changed. So when you look at Trump's first presidency, what do? They accuse him of being a Soviet spy. Now they're trying to accuse him of rape.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing Democrats now using the E. Jean Carroll story as definitive confirmation, even though there's no evidence of anything. It's insane.
So character assassination is the tactic, and then
Yep.
they're trying to make it illegal for him to run. I mean, I haven't been following the story the last couple of weeks, but what's been going on in that venue? Have you, like, since they were trying
Well,
to
they're going after him in New York for criminal charges, which we know about. He's apparently going to be facing new criminal charges in March of next year. They're already talking about that. Federal level, you've got the classified documents. Georgia, you've got election interference. They're just going to throw whatever they can at him. They're going to use every procedural manipulation to try and stop him. I'm not sure they're going to be able to pull it off. That's it. And then if something bad happens to Trump, I think this country just implodes.
If you look at the hardcore Trump supporter, indicting Trump or convicting Trump isn't really going to change their support. But if you look at the people that are already kind of on the fence, there's almost no one that doesn't have an opinion of Donald Trump. I mean, he's got 100% name ID, and 99.9% people have a pretty fixed opinion of him. So how does he move those people? And I think they just keep building negative, building negative, building negative. And that is the tactic, like you were saying. And it's been working, And so the question is, but you look in Ohio, Donald Trump, his message was built for Ohio. Everything about it. I mean, I got to be on Air Force One ahead of the election with him and showing stuff. People did like a 3-hour-long tractor parade. And he was just blown away. It's like, who would think these people like a billionaire from New York? I'm like, they don't just like you. They love you. Like, no one made this happen. It wasn't a campaign event. It was just organic. And that kind of support is still there amongst the base. But the question is, when you go into places like, the suburbs, places like Pennsylvania, places like Wisconsin, can you flip Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan again? Can you still hold Arizona? I mean, that's going to be the decider in this election.
Man, I feel like oh, hey, hi, good to see you. I'm so concerned with votes being tallied on machines in private with proprietary software code.
But did you hear Arizona's banning electronic voting machines?
Oh, based. No, that's the
based.
first I've heard that. Solid based.
Yeah, they said unless they're manufactured here in the U.S. and the source code is public.
It's got to
Wow, free the code.
Yeah, dude.
And
I gave you a shout out early when I was reading the news, and they said they can use them as long as the source code is public and it's made in the United States. I was like, public source, public code.
Well,
there it is.
Now we should actively create one of those and use it in Arizona instead of just revert. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dominion said that they were going to be going out of business because of reputational damage. And I'm like, if you have the option, Dominion, of either going out of business or building your voting machines here in the United States with open source code, why would you not choose the latter? Why would you just be like, oh, I guess we go out of business?
Especially after you just got a $700 million plus up.
Yeah.
Fox.
So they didn't say, I guess it was an interview, and the guy didn't say explicitly, that's it, we're done for. He said, based on the damage, we think we're headed towards the drain, that reputational damage is too much.
They're afraid of the name recognition. They need to change their name. Just like Blackwater did.
I think
Monsanto got bought by Bayer because they didn't like the name.
Is that coming for Bud Light?
Oh, probably.
Anheuser-Busch, yeah, AB,
I think
InBev.
every state should do what Arizona did and say, look, we don't care about you want out of this one. I tell you, it's really simple. The left is complaining about the right because, Kerry Lake is filing his lawsuits, and they say you won't get over 2020. I'm like, all right, everybody slow down. Here's an idea. No more foreign-built voting machines. It doesn't even, I don't understand the argument against it. It's like, what? We got to spend money to get upgraded voting machines for election security? Everybody should be in favor of that. We make them here in America. That's American jobs, good working class jobs. We do open source code so that the people have a right to see the code. Why would any Democrat disagree with that?
It's a requirement for all of our defense contracting. So why wouldn't it be for our voting system?
Have you looked much into the blockchain for voting security?
Blockchain really offers a lot of look. It's immutable. It's distributed ledger. It's a more secure way. Frankly, the most secure computing system is truly available with a proof of work kind of architecture. But a lot of people don't understand it, for one, and two, it really isn't scalable yet. But I think you're going to start seeing blockchain voting for shares. So I think when you can do votes for things like shares that way, you will eventually see blockchain as an immutable record of what happened, and you can audit it. It's fully auditable. Everyone could download a node. If you want to track the election in your state, download the node. You see everything. All the code is there. It would be a great way to run an election.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.